What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. We're about to get into another full mix walkthrough. Today we're looking at a track called What You On by a producer named Maniscooler. It's featuring artists Kamakaze, JayaHadADream and Morgan Munroe. I mixed this track a couple of months ago at the request of the producer, and he'd kind of had enough with it. He'd been working on it for a long time and wanted that fresh pair of ears to kind of look over it, fix up some issues that he was having with it, and just do an overall mix on the song. So this has been out only for a couple of weeks, I think, so check this out. It's on all platforms if you want to hear it. Before we get started, I'm going to play through some parts of the song so you can hear how it sounds mixed, and then we'll get into how it sounded when it came to me and what I did to fix it up and mix the song from start to finish. So I'll play this part of the first verse here into the second, and then the kind of outro part as well, so you can get a feel for this.
We knew to fight the system, never learned the lesson. Man act up when the girls were present. No sweet boy stuff for the first impression. Now gotta think how to word the question. What's your name, girl? Where you from? What you into? What you on? We're going them sides, would you come? You drink vodka, I've got rum.
We used to play knock door run for the jokes. Then it was rollers, rats for a tote. It's a shame the way life goes. I stayed on piff, they moved to coke. Ups and downs, guess I always like fun fairs. We stayed at mine cause we chill and we bun there. You bring warmth to my life like sunshine, warmth to my stride like tracksuit. Awkward but nice, I'm that you love. Show me fire.
We fall in love and we drink too much. We do some dumb things when we were young. The only thing we cared about was having fun. Wish we could go back to when we were young.
So as you can hear, it's a rap song. It's kind of a grime type song. It's a little bit slower than grime, and it's got this kind of garage influence and element to it because it's like a reminiscence song talking about growing up, being a teenager in the kind of 2000s or 2010s. So yeah, that's how the song's sounding now, and I'm going to show you how the track sounded when it first came to me so I can kind of point out how I identified what needs doing with this song to begin with. So this is how the song looked when it came to me, just the raw stems here. And the producer really stressed to me when he sent me this that he'd been working on the beat for quite a while and he wasn't quite happy with it. He needed a fresh pair of ears. And he also mentioned that there was some issues with the recordings here of the vocals. All the vocals were recorded in separate places, so 3 different places, which obviously always presents a little bit of a challenge because you want to get things to line up correctly. And also he mentioned that there's some quality issues and some clicks and pops and things on some of the vocals as well. So I knew there may be more work involved in this song than maybe a regular song if the producer's not really happy with how it's coming across, and also there's some issues to fix. But, you know, we was up for the challenge and we took it on. So I'm going to play through the raw stems in different sections again throughout the song, and then kind of tell you what my thinking was and then how we ended up going about fixing some of the issues and just making it sound as good as possible.
We used to listen to funky house, have drink ups when our mums were out, link at the park when the funds were out. Not much to give two f***s about. What goes around still comes around. Kick a ball and put jumpers down. Saturday comes, catch a bus to town. Roller coaster, yeah, ups and downs, no height restriction.
We used to play knock door run for the jokes. Then it was rollers, rats for a tote. It's a shame the way life goes. I stayed on piff, they moved to coke. Ups and downs, guess I always like fun fairs. We stayed at mine cause we chill and we bun there.
Fall in love and we drink too much. We do some dumb things when we were young. The only thing we can.
Yeah, so with the vocals, obviously playing the vocals when they're completely raw like this, they're never going to sound great, let's be honest, over the beat. But so that didn't concern me immediately. I just wanted to solo the beat and listen to what the beat's doing, because I think this really needs bringing out. You know, I noticed that it's a little bit muffled, a little bit undefined, like the snare's not really coming through. And the bass is a little bit untamed, so let me just play you this without the vocals and see if you can see what I'm getting at. Yeah, so as I say, the snare's not really coming through how I would want it to. I think the snare's coming from just this loop. Yeah, so it's just coming from that loop. It's not really poking through and popping out how I would want it to. I also thought the kick was a little bit woolly, a little bit boomy. Yeah, a little bit boxy on the kick there. The bass. Yeah, that probably needs some cleaning up and some taming as well. So yeah, that's the main thing really. But what I also felt is that although they sound like big changes that I need to make, you know, oftentimes those kind of changes can be done with just levels, you know, turning things up and down in the right places, and also just simple EQ and things like that. you know, I think it sounds cool. I can tell that it needs work, but it's nothing too complicated or too out of the ordinary, really. Play the beat down here as well. Just see what else is going on. Yeah, so for me, this is one of the really nice elements of this song is this saxophone going on throughout the song here. There's only a couple of bits throughout the song, but then at the end, it starts to really play a major role in the song. And to me, it just needs to come out a lot more. It needs to be stronger. It needs to be brighter and really kind of taking over the mix at that point. So there's a few things that I identified from the instrumental. Now we're going to go down and solo some of these vocals and see what needed doing with them.
It's like we used to listen to funky house, have drink ups when our mums were out, link at the park when the funds were out. Not much to give two fucks about. What goes around still comes around. Kick a ball and put jumpers down.
Yeah, so straight away the first thing that pops out is the amount of pops. You know, I don't know if this was recorded without a pop filter or how it was recorded. It's not a terrible recording, but it can definitely, there's definitely going to be some editing and some processing involved to just remove those pops and clicks.
Kick a ball and put jumpers down. Height restriction, times were different. On wave still, but the tides were distant. Fed said we fit the right description. Even then we knew to fight the system.
So here, even here on the word we, there's a pop there. So we're even getting pops where it's not even the P sound. It's just all over the place. So
even then we knew to fight. Even then we knew to fight.
See this here? Yeah, so gonna need some fixing up of that. Okay, let's play some of the second verse here.
We used to play knock door run for the jokes, then it was rollers rats for a toke. It's a shame the way life goes. I stayed on piff, they moved to coke. Ups and downs, guess I always like fun fairs. We stayed at mine cause we chill and we bun there.
Yeah, so again, it's not a terrible recording. I can hear some of I think it's the beat in the background. Or
we used to play knock door run for the jokes, then it was rollers rats for
so we can kind of hear the hats of the beat coming through in the background. Not the end of the world, but what I did notice on this is
move to coke. Ups and downs, guess I always like.
There's a lot of sibilance. So the sibilance is going to need work on this. And I don't know if DS's is going to do the job. We'll have to see later in the mix.
If they move to coke. Ups and downs, guess I always like fun fairs. We stayed at mine because we chill and we bun there. You bring warmth to my life like.
Also there's a broken breath.
We chill and we bun there. You bring warmth to my life.
So where it's been edited here, it's not quite been edited correctly. There's a breath kind of chopped in half there. So we may have to do some work with that and kind of cut that out and duplicate some breaths from somewhere else where there's a nice breath.
The coke, ups and downs.
So there's a solid breath, for example. So later on, we may have to duplicate this and paste it there.
They move to coke, ups and downs.
Just an example of some of the things that we have to do before we start mixing. And you can see here the background noise. You can actually see it on these ad-lib channels here. You can actually see it in the waveform.
Speak.
So this is going to need some surgical editing here, some removal like this, which I obviously did, but we'll get to that when we pull up the mixed project in a second. So let's go here to this last part of the vocals. This is kind of like an outro or chorus outro.
We'd fall in love and we'd drink too much. We'd do some dumb things when we were young. The only thing we cared about was having fun. Wish we could go back to when we were young.
Yeah, so this is probably the best recorded vocal in this project. This sounds fine. Usual things of having a raw vocal, you know, this is probably a little bit too dynamic. It needs some compression, it needs some de-essing. But other than that, it's a clean recording, so we can work with that nicely. And it's always nice. I'd rather have the singing part of the song recorded well and the rap parts recorded less well because, you know, we want this part to come across really smooth. And this is kind of the crescendo, the big ending of the track. So I wanted this part to sound really nice. So yeah, that's the raw song. Again, I'll just play another couple of bits for you and then we'll go back to the mixed project and I'll show you how I worked with it.
Mostly, what you on? Don't be long, don't be shy, boy. I'm the one. I got vibes, I've seen war, like my stripes, done my tour. Run that.
Yeah, she's bomb. Do I think you're nice? Don't play dumb. Right, we're rolling, vibes can't dumb.
Okay, so now we're going to dive in to the mixed project and show you how I started working on this. So now we're in the mixed project and you'll see that it looks quite different to the raw project, and this is basically all the editing and all the kind of structural work that went in to creating this mix first of all. So the first thing you'll notice is the kind of categories that I've broken this into. So I've got a drum track stack or bus here that contains all of the drums in the track. And then I've got a bass track stack or bass bus there. And I've also got an instruments bus or track stack here, which contains all the instruments. I've done a little bit of editing here. As you see, some regions have been kind of chopped up because I've changed the levels from region to region there. I've also separated this saxophone shot thing that I was talking about on the previous part of the video. Put the ending part onto a different track there. Chopped out some stuff that we didn't need. And then the vocals have been obviously heavily edited, as I alluded to on the previous part. They really needed some heavy editing. So that's the first thing to notice. I don't want to focus too much on like the technicalities of this mix. I really just want to focus more on how I fix some of the issues. But I will quickly just show you the kind of rough structure of this mix, just so you don't get confused by anything as we're going along. So as I said, I've got a drum bus, a bass bus, and an instrument bus. And then each one of those outputs to bus 5, which is my all instrumental bus. So I've got 3 buses for the 3 kind of elements of the instrumental, and then all those buses output to an all instrumental bus down here where I can do some leveling on the overall beat, or I can apply plugins to the overall beat and things like that. And then the vocals similar. I've got an intro track stack, another intro track stack, and then I've got a track stack or a bus for each one of the verses. So Kama's verse, Jaya's verse, ad-libs, and then Morgan's singing part at the end here, and also the harmonies and BVs for that part down here as well. All of those also output to an all vocal bus, which is bus 20. So all of these individual track stacks or buses all output to another bus, which is my all vocal bus. This is down here as well. And on there, we've got some processing on that all vocal bus, as you can see there. And obviously having this fader here allows me to turn all the vocals up and down together, and also allows me to do this kind of overall vocal processing, which is really important in my process. So yeah, let's start with the drums. Actually, let's start by playing the instrumental. So I'm just going to mute all the vocals here and play the instrumental. Hopefully you can remember how it sounded before in the previous project with the raw files, but this is how it sounded fully mixed. I'll play this kind of outro chorus part here where the saxophone really kicks up. Yeah, so I think hopefully you'll agree that this sounds just a lot cleaner, a lot more polished and finished. We'll start with the drums and I'll show you what I did with this. First of all, I added this sweep, as you can see here, going along here. I just added this little thing on all of the kind of drops. Yeah, so kind of a transitional thing just to hit whenever there's a drop in the beat. I just wanted to add something there. Let me play all the drums together actually, so you can get a feel for them, and then we'll talk about what we did to all the individual drums. Yeah, so the first thing that I wanted to address was this garage loop, which was, this is providing the snare for the song, but also has other things going on within it. And the other thing that it has is actually a kick drum. So I used the EQ to kind of filter out some of the kick on there so that it doesn't clash with the main kicks. Let me play these together. So this is the EQ for the kick, and you'll see that I've kind of reduced a little bit of the muddy area here around 200 because I thought it was just a little bit woolly there. So I removed that. I also filtered out some of the super lows, so it's more kind of I don't know, it's more kind of punchy than subby. But then you'll see here the EQ curve that I've got for the garage loop, and I've actually EQ'd out kind of where this kick is hitting. So you'll see the kick hitting here is where I've kind of filtered out some of the low end from the loop here. The other thing you'll see I've done heavily here is reduce 5 dB up here in the upper mids and the highs. I just thought there was just way too much high end coming across from this loop. And the other thing I added was a Pro MB by FabFilter, and this is also this is basically multi-band compressing on the mid-range and the high end. Again, it's just reducing the harshness of the hats. They were just coming through way too strong for me. In a second, I'll play all the drums together, but without these two things, and you hear just how much the hats are kind of running the show there. The other thing I've done is used S1 Imager by Waves and just increase the width of this loop a little bit. Can't remember why I did it. I must have liked it. So let me play all the drums now, as I said, and I'm going to remove these EQs that I did on the loop. And you'll see that the hats were just sticking out way too far. Yeah, so it obviously sounds, what I was going for here, I think, was just to make it sound a little bit more kind of analog, a little bit more warm, less bright and less edgy and abrasive to the ear, if you know what I mean. I think with the rest of the instrumental, it just worked. The feel of it, it's an old school kind of garagey kind of vibe to it, and I wanted to add that kind of warmth rather than that sharpness. Yeah, so just make it easier on the ear, you know. And then I did similar thing here with the hats, because we got this other hats going on here as well, and I just reduced a little bit the high end on those. Pretty minor difference, but the same thing, just going for a little bit more of a warmer vibe and less sharp. We've got this percussion thing going on here. Again, very simple things, just a little bit of an EQ boost over here in the kind of upper mids, and then a little bit of widening as well. Again, these are really simple things, you know. Sometimes you don't need to make loads of changes to make an overall big difference to a sound, you know. I didn't want to completely transform this. I just wanted to fix the issues that I heard, and everything else can just be fixed by simple leveling stuff. Obviously, you'll see here that I've kind of changed the levels on a few of these elements as well, which is normally the most important thing when it comes to mixing. You know, people think you got to add plugins to everything. You don't always have to add plugins. Sometimes it's just turning things up and down. And then we've got these other hats at the end here, these counter hats. So this is for the kind of breakdown, kind of outro singing part of the song, where the drums change. The only thing I've made a few changes. So to those counter hats, I've done nothing. To this kick here, I've just added more mid-range, kind of very broad stroke there of mid-range and high end. And then I've also spread it out a little bit more as well with the S1 Imager again. Pretty minor change, but it just helped to bring some presence out of it. And then we've got this percussion here. And with this, I've added some mid-range to it to kind of make it poke out a little bit more, reduce some of the high end. And then I've put this tremolo on to kind of make it go between the speakers a little bit as it's hitting. I've also added a slight reverb here on a bus, Just a really quite a low reverb, but I'll play you with and without all of these things. Yeah, so you should be able to hear the movement there between the speakers on those percussion hits there, and also the little bit of reverb. I don't know, it just added a little bit of sparkle to it that I liked. So we'll move on now to the bass, and this is another area where I thought needed some attention. So the first thing I've done here is use this MV2 by Waves, which is a compressor that I really like to use on bass. And this is just helping to tame it. It was a little bit too dynamic for me. I just wanted to tame it down a little bit. So this is literally just pushing down on it a little bit, taming out some of the dynamic parts within it. I've added R bass to this. This just brings out a little bit more rumble down in the real low part. So at 48, I'm just adding a little bit of rumble. As you can see, it's turned down quite a lot there, but I'll play you before and after with this. So it's doing very little. I like to use this on basses that, you know, this bass is not really lacking in that area anyway. But usually I'll use this on bass lines that are just lacking a little bit in the super lows, and this really helps. So let me boost this up and show you what it's doing, just so you know what I was getting at. So as you can see, you can really go crazy with that and add a lot of rumble. But I was just adding just a slight bit that just helped in the mix. EQ, really nothing, just a little bit of a dip there in the 200, 300 region. I'm using track spacer here, and this is basically just a sidechain compression. So every time the kick drum hits, it pushes down on the lower parts of the bass. So there's many different ways and methods of going about this. I like to use this track spacer plugin by Waves Factory. And yeah, like I say, it just helps to create headroom in the bass. It helps so that there's not too much of a clash going on in the real lower regions of the track. Makes for a little bit more headroom when it comes to mastering and everything. So we'll move on now to the instruments in the song. And the first thing is this main synth, which as you can see goes out throughout the whole song. Literally all I've done here is some leveling, so I turned it down a little bit, and then I've just removed any rumble that was going on down there and just took out a little bit of the low mids as well. Throughout the song I did make chops and turn these regions up and down depending on what was going on with the song. So the parts of the song where there's other instrumentation going on, as you see here, I've actually cut that and turned that down a little bit to allow space for the other elements in the song to come through. But generally it's quite small changes. Below that, we've got this build-up synth here. So again, very minor changes. It would have just been level change. And as you can see, I'm dipping out some of the low mid. You know, that's one of the first things that I heard when I listened to the beat. It was just too much. It was very rumbly, very kind of heavy in the low mids, a little bit muffled and muddy. So this is my attempt of changing that. Clearly I'm trying to boost a little bit up here and take out some of the energy down here. Obviously we want to leave space for the bass on this to really shine, and the kick and everything. Then we've got this vocal. Again, same thing, just removing any mud and any low end that was in there. Cowbell. So I've just brightened this up with the Fresh Air plugin, added some high-end kind of harmonic distortion there, and then boosted up here in the EQ as well. Just makes it sparkle a little bit more, stand out more in the mix. I think it's a nice little element when you hear it with the rest of the beat. Then we move on to the saxophone here. I've literally done nothing. I've just panned it a little bit to the right and dipped out some of the mid-range. I probably just felt it was a little bit harsh in the mid there. It was catching my ear too much while the vocals were ongoing, so dipped that out a little bit. And then at the end, I chopped the end of it off and moved it to a new channel because this is where I wanted it to stand out more against the singing vocals at the end of the song. So I've just basically put it louder, and I've also sent it out to a reverb, so it's got like a bigger reverb on it. Pretty minor change, but the main thing I wanted to do is just, like I say, just make this a little bit bigger by putting that reverb on it and just make it louder than that part. So split it onto a different track. Got this eerie pad. Again. Just kind of background texture more than anything, so I didn't do a lot with that. Boosted it a little bit there, dropped it out there, but I don't even think there's anything going on down there. That's just me being careful. And then we've got this kind of transition riser here. With this, I've added mouth declick. I think there must have been some clicks and pops on this, and this is a great tool to remove that. Yeah, so if you listen carefully at the end of this riser here, when it goes down, you'll hear a little click. So all I did was slap this on there. Instantly gone. Wonderful tool. I couldn't live without this mouth declick tool, I tell you. We got some vocal samples here toward the end. Again, just dipping out some low mids. I've also sent that to the same reverb that I sent that saxophone to, just to kind of give it a little bit more space. We've got this trumpet part here. So again, all I've done with that is turned it down, panned it to the left a little bit. You know, very, very minor changes, but I think you'll agree that this is quite, overall, it makes a big difference to the sound from where I played you the raw version of the song a few minutes ago. So again, same thing on this choir here. You'll see I'm just dipping out around 200. I really don't like to have too much build up around this area here, particularly in a song like this that's, at times it gets a little bit busy with what's going on. I like to dip out here. You don't want to go too far because then you can lose some of the weight of the song and some of the kind of the warmth of the song if you dip out too much here. But on this particular song, the main thing for me was just cleaning it up, making everything fit nice together and clearing out some of that mud. That was a kind of crucial part of this mix. Haven't done any dramatic changes, you know, the goal is not to make as many changes as possible. The producer's made the beat. He's happy with what he's done. And your job is just to clean up any issues and, you know, use your ear as a fresh ear to kind of make incremental changes that hopefully make a kind of big impact to the overall kind of professionalism or cleanness or whatever you want to call it kind of thing of the sound, rather than trying to transform it into your own thing, you know. Oh, before I forget, you'll see here that on this instruments bus, I've actually got a MoTT plugin. So this is just on the instruments part of the song, not on the beat, not on the bass or the drums, just on the instruments that we just covered. I've got this MoTT plugin, and this kind of acts like an inflator. It kind of brings everything up, and you don't want to go too mad with this, but it can just help things to kind of jump out of the mix a little bit more. You saw there when I turn that up a lot, it's kind of crazy, but a little bit of that can just help to bring everything together and bring things out a little bit. And then again on the end, I've got a high pass filter here, just any rumble or any low end that might have crept through from that we don't want. I filtered that out. So I'll play the whole instrumental together now. And also just mention the last thing that I did to kind of bring this track together, this instrumental together. I'll play it from down here because it's probably the most interesting part of the song. Yeah, so on the end of this instrumental, on the overall instrumental together, I've added this Oxford inflator, which is, again, just pushing things up a little bit, maybe a little bit of glue, a little bit of compression on the overall instrumental. But as you heard there when I was bypassing it, it's not making a huge difference. Just a little touch that I like to do sometimes to add a little bit of volume and push the dynamics a little bit. Okay, so moving on to vocals, and as we mentioned, the first thing that really needed doing on these vocals is editing. You'll see here just how many chops I've had to do on these vocals throughout the song. The only parts that I haven't had to do as many is this part here and the singing part down here, although it looks like I've done quite a few there as well. So I'm going to do my best to explain what I've done here, and I think the best way of showing that is leaving on all of the processing for now, and we'll get to this and what I did with all of this processing. I'm going to just remove the effects like the delays and reverbs and the sends here and play it with the compression and with the EQ and everything, because this is how I like to edit vocals. I don't like to edit vocals listening completely raw, because I find that adding this stuff is obviously going to bring out any issues. So once you compress, EQ, DS and all of that, that's when you can identify better what needs to be done in terms of editing on vocals, because I'm listening more to how it's actually going to be rather than how it is when it's raw, if you follow me. So the first thing to do was to press this button here. This is a top tip for editing vocals. If I try and edit it like this, looking at the waveform this small, it's going to be more difficult. So I come over here, click and hold this, and then you can make the waveforms as big or as small as you want to view them. You know, whichever's most comfortable for you, you can select that. I like it usually around here, and that doesn't affect the sound or the waveform in and of itself. It just affects the way that you're actually viewing it. So you see here, I've done numerous chops and fades. Some of these will be breaths. So like that one there, that one there. Those will just be simple breaths. So I've just chopped and turned the breaths down over here on the region gain setting. But other ones of these will be S's, so right there, you can see they're actually S's. They're probably S's that the de-esser just wasn't doing enough, so I had to manually edit those and turn those down with the gain, region gain. And then other ones, which is really important on this song, will be those clicks and pops that I played you earlier in the raw vocals. So let me play this verse now in solo with these edits, and then I'll drag out the file without the edits and you can see the difference. And I'll try and show you live kind of what I did.
It's like we used to listen to funky house, have drink ups when our mums were out, link at the park when the funds were out. Not much to give two fucks about. What goes around still comes around. Kick a ball and put jumpers down. Saturday.
Yeah, so you hear it's still a little bit poppy, a little bit clicky. You're never going to remove all of it, but it's a lot better. So if I duplicate this channel now, I'll copy this part and drag that out. And this will show you what it sounded like before I did this editing.
Kick a ball and put jumpers down. Kick a ball and put jumpers down. Saturday.
So you hear straight away how many clicks and pops there are on this ball, put.
Kick a ball and put jumpers down. Saturday comes, catch a bus to town. Roll a.
And you'll see here the parts that I've addressed on this on these regions above. So all of these areas here, you can actually visibly see them. So what I will have basically done is just gone through and chopped like this, and then you can even select these together, get your fade tool on and just drag like that.
Kick a ball and put jumpers down. Kick a ball and put jumpers down. Saturday. Kick a ball and put jumpers down. Saturday.
And then what you want to do also is make sure that there's a fade out on all of these regions before you've done these chops. So to do that, I would just select, and then I'd come over here, even just put a 2 on this fade out.
Kick a ball and put jumpers down. Saturday.
So the one on the ball is a little bit harsh, so we'll just pull that back a little bit.
Kick a ball and put jumpers down. Saturday.
Still a little bit much, so we'll just...
Kick a ball and put jumpers down. Saturday.
Even the puh on the jumpers as well.
Kick a ball and put jumpers down. Saturday comes, catch a bus to town. Roller coaster, yeah, ups and downs, no height restriction. Times were different. On wave still, but the tides were distant. Fed said we fit the right description. Saturday comes, catch a bus to town. Roller.
So you hear the difference there. So we'll do a before and after again. So this is the before.
Kick a ball and put jumpers down. Saturday comes, catch a bus to town. Roller coaster. Kick a ball and put jumpers down. Kick a...
And the after.
Kick a ball and put jumpers down. Saturday comes, catch a bus to town.
So you see there's a big difference there. And that was required throughout this whole song. There's even parts on this where he's not even saying the kind of P sound. And even there was pops and bangs on the mic. And I think this is an example of one of them here.
Man act tough when the girls were present. No sweet boy stuff for the first impression. Now got a...
So I'll drag this part down, remove the edits. I'll show you what it sounded like before.
Girls were present, no sweet boy stuff. Present, no sweet boy stuff. Present, no sweet boy stuff for the first.
And then after.
When the girls were present, no sweet boy stuff for the first impression. Now got... Girls were present, no sweet boy stuff for the first impression.
So you hear just how those chops have really helped clean it up. Again, it's not perfect. You know, you're never going to get a take to be completely perfect when it's got these kind of issues with it. But this is helping a lot. The other thing I did is used, again, this RX11 mouth declick by Isotope, and this does a great job of cleaning up clicks and pops. So I'll play you before this and with this on, and hopefully you can hear the difference.
Weeks about what goes around still comes around. Kick a ball.
So you hear on the end of that round, the word around.
Goes around still comes around. Kick a ball.
There's a click there, but when I turn this on,
goes around still comes around. Kick a ball and put jumpers down.
It's a lot better. It's a lot cleaner. So this helps a lot, and this will be on all the vocals on this song. To different degrees, sometimes I turn the sensitivity down because you don't want it doing too much, but it needed to be quite sensitive on this particular take here. The other thing I've done is use this Clarity VXD reverb plugin by Waves. I'll play you without this and with this. It should be quite a subtle difference, but it just helps to remove some of the room noise that may have been captured by the mic.
The coaster, yeah, ups and downs, no height restriction. Times were different. On wave still, but the tides were distant. Fed said we fit the right description. Even then, we knew to fight the system. Never learned the lesson. Man act tough when the girls were present. No sweet boy stuff for the first impression. Now.
Yeah, the other thing I did here with the editing was obviously the BVs here, like the backup vocals. I've gone through, chopped these up and moved them into place. These were a little bit rough as well. There was a lot of noise in the background and little parts like this that needed chopping off. So I always go through and just chop all of these backups and ad-libs and get them perfectly in time and sounding clean. We'll move on to the second verse here, which is Jaya's verse. Again, we'll turn off the sends here, but leave everything else on. Just show you how I edited these.
We used to play knock door run for the jokes, then it was rollers rats for a toke. It's a shame the way life goes. I stayed on piff, they moved to coke. Ups and downs, guess I always...
So I'll copy this take down, drag it out and play you it without the edits, same way we did before.
It's a shame the way life goes. I stayed on piff, they moved to coke.
So a little bit sharp on the word coke there, and the S's are coming through too harshly as well.
It's a shame the way life goes. I stayed on piff, they moved to coke.
And then after the edits.
It's a shame the way life goes. I stayed on piff, they moved to coke. Ups and downs get...
So just a lot more clean. And again, I just would have gone through. You see here the difference between the S's. So I would have just gone through, chop these, come over here to the region gain, turn them down, and then just make sure that there's fades on the start and end of all of these as well, so you don't get any clicks and pops. And again, for the P's and the C's, the harsh ones, you can just fade it like that. And that's how we went through and edited these vocals. I hope I've covered that in as much detail as necessary. It will take me so long to go through and do this all completely live, but you can just see the amount of work that has gone into creating these vocals, a cleaner sound from these vocals. Again, they're not absolutely perfect, but they're much better than when they came to me. So now we'll get into what I actually did on these vocals in terms of compression and EQ to really bring them out. And I'll leave on the two things that I showed you before, which is the Clarity D reverb and the D-Click plugin, as we've already covered that, and they're not really changing the sound as such. And then the next thing in the chain here was Pro Q, which is just doing some EQ touches here, just bringing down some of the low mids and giving it a high boost as well.
Funky house, have drink ups when our mums were out. Link at the park when the funds were out. Not much to give two fucks about. What goes around still comes around. Kick a ball and put jumpers down. Saturday comes, catch a bus to town.
You just hear that just nicely cleaning up the vocal there, just removing some of that rumble and some of those pops in the low end, and also just brightening it up a little bit. And then we got a de-esser here.
Have drink ups when our mums were out. Link at the park when the funds were out. Not much to give two fucks about. What goes around still comes around. Kick.
Pretty basic stuff. For compression and a little bit of EQ, we've used this SSL 4KE by Slate. This comes in the SSL bundle. And we're just doing slight EQ touches, a little bit of a boost in the high frequency and the mids, a little bit of a dip in the low mids. And then we're using the compression over here. That's all we're really using here. A little bit of mic preamp, saturation type stuff there as well.
It's like we used to listen to funky house. Have drink ups when our mums were out. Link at the park when the funds were out. Not much to give two fucks about. What goes around still comes around. Kick a ball and put jumpers down. Saturday comes, catch a bus to town.
So you see the compression that it's doing here. It's not too much. It's sort of between the -6 and the -10 dB of compression there.
Fight the system. Never learned the lesson. Man act tough when the girls were present. No sweet boy stuff for the first impression. Now gotta think how to word the question.
So you see that just really adds level to the vocal and really just brings them out. Makes them less dynamic and more upfront. That's all the processing I did on the actual channel here. Then we moved on to the bus, where there's more processing. This is just the way I like to work. There's plenty of different ways of working with this. This is the way I did it on this song. So I'm using the virtual mix rack by Slate, and we're doing another little bit of EQ. As you can see, similar kind of boosts in the high mids and the high end. A little bit of a dip there. Compression, a little bit of brightening up with the Revival plugin.
Were out. Link at the park when the funds were out. Not much to give two fucks about. What goes around still comes around. Kick a ball and put jumpers down. Saturday comes, catch a bus to town. Roller coaster, yeah, ups and downs. No height restriction. Times were different. On wave still, but the tides were distant. Fed said we fit the right description.
Yeah, so that's bringing it even more up front and adding a lot more presence to them. But obviously, in turn, that adds a lot of sibilance. It's too harsh. There's too much sharpness going on with the kind of transients of the S sounds and the T sounds. So then we run into this, which is the E2 de-esser, which is my favorite de-esser to use for this. And this really is going to smooth out the vocals and remove some of those harsher S sounds.
Roller coaster, yeah, ups and downs. No height restriction. Times were different. On wave still, but the tides were distant. Fed said we fit the right description. Even then, we knew to fight the system. Never learned the lesson. Man act tough when the girls were present. Never learned the lesson. Man act tough when the girls were present. No sweet boy stuff.
So it really helps to clean up. Maybe makes it a little bit too dull, but then we're bringing up a little bit of brightness after that with this Pro MB. And this is a multi-band compressor. So this is kind of bringing up the highs and the mids here slightly, but also compressing if they go above a certain point. So it's kind of a controlled way of boosting these frequencies.
Kick a ball and put jumpers down. Saturday comes, catch a bus to town. Roller coaster, yeah, ups and downs. No height restriction. Times were different. On wave still, but the tides were distant. Fed said we fit the right description. Even then, we knew to fight the system.
And then we've got a channel EQ after that, just dipping out a little bit of the low end as well. Let me go to this part of the verse.
Name girl, where you from? What you into? What you on? We're going them sides, would you come? You drink vodka, I've got rum. I've got a next cup, do you want...
So the reason that this EQ here is right at the end of the chain here, you're probably thinking, well, why has he done it in that order? Reality is that I'm showing you a real mix here. I'm not showing you a kind of pre-prepared mix for the video where I may have changed things around and made it simpler to follow. But for this one, I wanted to show you the real deal. And the reality is that sometimes I'll mix a vocal, I'll go away, I'll come back, and I'll just think, it's just got too much mud, it's just got too much low end on the vocal. And I'll just slap an EQ at the end of the chain and do it here. May not be the best way of working, but there's no best way of working. Work whichever way is quick and works, And for this, I just wanted a simple EQ at the end of the chain to just bring out some of the low end. I could have gone back and done it in one of the other EQs somewhere else, but in this case, this just gives me an easy, quick way of doing it. And it was just like a final adjustment type thing. Let me look at the BVs here.
Funky house, have drink ups when our mums were out. Link at the park when the funds were out. Not much to give two fucks about. What goes around still comes around. Kick.
These would have been processed pretty much exactly the same as the main vocals, but then I would have just dipped out here in the high end so that they're not competing in that region and adding more sibilance to the kind of chain. And then after that, I'm using this PSP pseudo stereo plugin, which just adds some width and depth to those BVs to kind of put them outside of the center of the stereo image. We'll move on now to what we did with the sends in terms of reverbs and delays. And the first thing is a slap delay, as usually is on my mixes.
Saturday comes, catch a bus to town. Roller coaster, yeah, ups and downs, no height restriction. Times were different. On wave still, but the tides were distant. Fed said we fit the right description.
To create that, it's pretty simple. It's just a delay here. 150 on the milliseconds. I've got a little bit of spread on there. And then I'm EQing out some parts that I didn't want and some parts that I did want.
Saturday comes, catch a bus to town. Roller coaster, yeah, ups and downs, no height restriction. Times were different. On wave still, but the tides were distant. Fed said we fit the right description.
Next, we've got a delay here. So I think this is a quarter note delay.
Funds were out. Not much to give two fucks about. What goes around still comes around. Kick a ball and put jumpers down. Saturday comes, catch a bus to town.
And to create that, oh, it's actually an eighth note delay. Okay. And I've just used the simple Logic delay plugin there. I've got it on tremolo, so it's kind of moving from speaker to speaker to just to kind of move it around in the stereo field. And then I've put some reverb on the end of that as well. So I'll play this in solo.
Catch a bus to town. Roller coaster, yeah, ups and downs, no height restriction. Times were different. On wave still, but the distant. Fed said we fit the right description. Even then, we knew to fight the system. Never learned the lesson. Man act tough when the girls were present. No sweet.
I'm also sidechain compressing the delay here so that when the vocal is playing and when there's words being said, it's pushing down the volume on the delay so that it's not competing for space. So this delay generally comes up more in the gaps in between words and at the end of phrases and things like that. And I'll be doing that with all the vocals in the project. That's why I've got multiple R compressors here on this delay, because I'm sidechaining from that verse and all the other vocals in the song for when they're playing as well. Then we've got a little reverb on these vocals as well. Let's switch to this piece.
What you into, what you on? We're going them sides, would you come? You drink vodka, I've got rum. I've got a next cup, do you want some? That's your brethren, yeah, she's bum. Do I think you're nice? Don't play dumb. Right, we're rolling, vibes can't done. What?
So this is a pretty short plate here on these vocals, and it's quite low. I don't like to put too much reverb on rap vocals, so it's just a little bit there, and as you can see, I'm filtering out the mud there.
What you in? A next cup, do you want some? That's your brethren, yeah, she's bum. Do I?
Pretty low in the mix. Just helping the vocal just smooth it out a little bit, and I think when I turned it on, I just heard that extra little bit of smoothness that I like. And then the other thing is my airbus, and I've covered this in 3 or 4 of my other videos, and it seems quite popular. People seem to like it, and I wanted to brighten up these vocals a little bit and add a little bit of air. So I've explained this in depth in my other videos, so I won't go too far into it, but what it basically is, I've got a de-esser on this airbus, and then I'm using this Waves Morphoda plugin, and this is kind of creating like a whole nother voice, but just the high end of that voice and almost like a high-pitched version of the vocal. Let me play you it in solo and you'll hear it. So a little bit strange, it's kind of creating like a ghost vocal, but just the air element of the vocal. And then I've put a reverb on the end of that, and let me play you with and without this. And also I'll turn it up as I'm playing it so you can hear what it's doing there.
Around, kick a ball and put jumpers down. Saturday comes, catch a bus to town. Roller coaster, yeah, ups and downs, no height restriction. Times were different. On wave still, but the tides were distant. Fed said we fit the right description. Even then, we knew to fight the system. Never learned the lesson.
And that's the finished sound of this particular vocal. I'll play you it now with everything in, with the beat. See what you think. I think it sounds, considering where we started, I think it sounds pretty clean. And I'll try and do a before and after here as well.
Fed said we fit the right description. Even then we knew to fight the system. Never learned the lesson. Man act tough when the girls were present. No sweet boy stuff for the first impression. Now gotta think how to work the question. What's your name, girl? Where you from? What you into? What you on? We're going them sides once you come. You drink vodka, I've got rum. I've got a next cup, do you want some? That's your brethren, yeah she's bomb. Do I think you're nice? Don't play dumb. Right to get ups and downs, no height restriction. Times were different. On way still, but the tides were distant. Fed said we fit the right description. Even then we knew to fight the system. Never learned the lesson. Man act tough when the girls were present. No sweet boy stuff for the first impression. Now gotta think how to word the question. What's your name, girl? Where you from?
So a little bit difficult to do the before and after, but I think you get the gist of just how much the vocals have changed. I've also added these delay throws to this verse, and this will be a theme throughout the song, so we'll cover it here. And it should cover us for all the other ones in the track as well. I will have just copy and pasted the settings from this channel up to this channel here where I've put the delay, but then I've also added the H delay plugin to this with a ping pong, a little bit of chorus just to create a different kind of feel to this, and then a reverb on the end of it.
Fight the system. To fight the system. Never learned the lesson. The right description. Even then we knew to fight the system. Never learned the lesson. Man act tough when the girls were present. No sweet boy stuff. Right, we're rolling. Vibes can't done.
We used to play knock door run.
Just a nice little transition into the next verse. You know, if I mute this and play it without, I think it's a little bit dead here in between the two verses.
Do I think you're nice? Don't play dumb. Right, we're rolling. Vibes can't done.
We used to play knock.
Do I think you're nice? Don't play dumb. Right, we're rolling. Vibes can't done.
We used to play knock door run for.
Yeah, so I like that. Okay, so let's move on to Jaya's verse here, and it's pretty much the same principle. So I don't know if I need to show you all of this. I'll show you maybe the differences. As you'll see, the chain is very similar. It will be slightly different EQ settings, of course, for the different type of voice.
Door run for the jokes, then it was rollers rats for a toke. It's a shame the way life goes. I stayed on piff, they moved to coke. Ups and downs, guess I always like fun fairs. We stayed at mine cause we chill and we bun there. You bring warmth to my life like sun.
I'm actually reducing the high end on this rather than boosting it as I was on Kama's verse. De-esser.
Life like sun chair, warmth to my stride like tracksuit. Awkward but nice, I'm that you. Take me on trips on the back route. Hotbox the whip, run the pack tunes. You hold me tight and I exhale slowly. You're my striker.
I'll be doing different things here with the EQ slightly, but similar concept, just trying to remove some of the mud, add a touch of brightness, and then we're compressing not too heavily.
Warmth to my life like sun chair, warmth to my stride like tracksuit. Awkward but nice, I'm that you. Take me on trips on the back route. Hotbox the whip, run the pack tunes. You hold me tight and I exhale slowly. You're my striker, you're my goalie, you're my lover, you're my homie.
So that's it for the actual channel, and then we move on to the bus for her verse. And as you'll see, I've reduced a lot of the mid-range on this. Obviously, being a female voice, it's going to be very different settings to the male voice, where with the male voice, I'm generally trying to boost up some of the high end and the high mids. But with this vocal, I actually reduced it by a dB or so, just so it was more easy on the ear.
We stayed at mine cause we chill and we bun there. You bring warmth to my life like sun chair, warmth to my stride like tracksuit. Awkward but nice, I'm that you. Take me on trips on the back route. Hotbox the whip, run the pack tunes. You hold me tight and I exhale slowly. You're my.
So you hear how much presence and how much more in your face that sounds with that on. But again, we're introducing some sibilance and some harshness in the T's and the S's. So we bring up this de-esser again, and it's doing even more in terms of sensitivity on this vocal.
They moved to coke. Ups and downs, guess I always like fun fairs. We stayed at mine cause we chill and we bun there. They moved to coke. Ups and downs, guess I always like fun fairs. We stayed at mine cause we chill and we bun there. You bring.
So doing a lot of de-essing on this, and it's probably making it sound again a little bit too much. But then with the other things that we're adding, like the air that I showed you, and with this EQ here with the Pro MB, you'll see that hopefully by the end of it, it sounds good and not as lispy as that.
Shame the way life goes. I stayed on piff, they moved to coke. Ups and downs, guess I always like fun fairs. We stayed at mine cause we chill and we bun there. You bring warmth to my life like sun chair, warmth to my stride like tracksuit.
Yeah, so you see I'm doing a little bit more compression here on the mid-range, as I say, with the female voice. And then very much the same in terms of the reverbs and delays. So I won't go through all of these, but I'll play you the before and after with these because these really obviously help to get us to the finished sound.
Bun there. You bring warmth to my life like sunshine, warmth to my stride like tracksuit. Awkward but nice, I'm that you. Take me on trips on the back route. Hotbox the whip, run the pack tunes. You hold me tight and I exhale slowly. You're my striker, you're my goalie, you're my lover, you're my...
So quite a wet sound, which I wouldn't usually do on rap vocals. Maybe usually leave them a little bit more dry. But for this song, I don't know, it's got that kind of reminiscent vibe. It's got that old school feel to it. So I thought that it worked to add more delays and more reverb to this than maybe I usually would. Same principle with her BVs. You know, same as the main vocal, but just with that kind of stereo width with the PSP pseudo stereo plugin on there. And that's the finished sound of her verse. So I'll play it before and after, a quick before and after for you. And then we'll play it with the instrumental as well.
You take me on trips on the back route. Hotbox the whip, run the pack tunes. You hold me tight and I exhale slowly. You're my striker, you're my goalie, you're my lover, you're my homie. They're friends but the night's still lonely. Nostalgia, I bun that slowly. Trying to be proud of me at least mostly. You take me on trips on the back route. Hotbox the whip, run the pack tunes. You hold me tight and I exhale slowly. You're my striker, you're my goalie, you're my lover, you're my homie. They're friends but the night's still lonely. Nostalgia.
See here, I've got two delays similar to the one I showed you on Kama's verse, but I've panned one left and one right, just so it's like striker, goalie.
Goalie, you're my striker, you're my goalie, you're my lover, you're my homie.
And I also did some beat chops here in those parts to kind of go along with those parts. Just things like this just add a little bit of tailoring, a little bit of structure to the song that just help it flow.
Take me on trips on the back route. Hotbox the whip, run the pack tunes. You hold me tight and I exhale slowly. You're my striker, you're my goalie, you're my lover, you're my homie. They're friends but the night's still lonely.
And we've got this bridge part or second part of Jaya's verse here. And I wanted to show you what I did on this because I treated this a little bit different. If you listen to this part, it's got a different kind of vibe to the main rap verse.
Yeah, at least mostly. What you on? Don't be long, don't be shy boy, I'm the one. I got vibes, I've seen war, like my stripes, done my tour. On the high, come inside.
So what I've actually done here with these three layers of this kind of bridge is I've created a new track stack, but that's also contained within the overall verse track stack, if you follow what I'm saying. So it was basically a way for me to process these three tracks here differently to the main verse, but also having all the same settings that the main verse has got on it as well. But this allows me to put some extra stuff on just these three parts here. And I won't go through the settings for these tracks because they're very similar to what I just showed you with the main, apart from I've panned these doubles left and right here. But then what I've done here on the track stack is I've added a delay.
What you on? Don't be long, don't be shy boy, I'm the one. I got vibes, I've seen war, like my stripes, done my tour.
So I've added I've used this reggae delay preset and then messed around with it. It's got some distortion and some reverb on it. And it's one of those things that you can't really hear in the mix, but it just adds a different vibe and a different feel to this part of the song.
Tour, run the high, come inside, by design, I'm your type.
Now I've done some more EQ here, just taking out some of the lower end, not too important. And then I've put this MoTT on the end of it with this vocal up front setting. So this is again just to create a different feel and a different vibe to this part of the song. I was just testing out different things, adding different things on, and I thought this one worked here.
What you on? Don't be long, don't be shy boy, I'm the one. I got vibes, I've seen war, like my stripes, done my tour. Run the high, come inside, by design, I'm your type, so let's go.
Pretty subtle in reality, but it does push it up a little bit and push it forward a touch. And then the air bus that I showed you earlier, I've put a lot more of that on this part, as I think you can hear.
What you on? Don't be long, don't be shy boy, I'm the one. I got vibes, I've seen war, like my stripes, done my tour.
So you hear the transition between the two parts of Jaya's vocals here. And hopefully you can see what I was going for.
I bun that slowly, trying to be proud of me at least mostly. What you on? Don't be long, don't be shy boy, I'm the one. I got vibes, I've seen war, like my stripes, done my tour. Run the high, come inside, by design, I'm your type, so let's go. Show me light, show me love, show me fire.
Yep, so a much more airy, kind of low-key, nice, echoey kind of feel for that part, which I thought really worked. The only other thing here on Jaya's verse is these ad-libs here, and I don't want to spend too long on them, because it's pretty straightforward and I want to dive into the next part of the song. But I'll play you these and quickly walk through what I did as well.
Speed. Smirk. Love. Bless up.
So the main things I've done, these three things I think sum up how I treated these ad-libs here without going into detail on every single thing. As you can see, the EQ, a lot of mid-range being brought out of the EQ, basic compression. We wanted these to be kind of like a radio phone effect or whatever you want to call it, walkie-talkie type effect with a different texture to the main. And then I've added this slight grunge or grit here with the chroma tape.
Smirk.
When you put this on this 7.5 IPS, it just adds that little bit of kind of tape saturation or distortion. And then you boost the level up here, increase this flux. It just adds a little bit of grit to them.
Love. Bless up. Bless up. Bless up.
And then I've put this delay plugin on here as well to just add a little bit more echo to them. And then just separated them onto different channels, pan one left and pan one right, and that's basically it. But I'll quickly play you the verse with those ad-libs in so you can see how they sound.
For the jokes, then it was rollers, rats for a tote. It's a shame the way life goes. I stayed on piff, they moved to coke. Ups and downs, guess I always like fun fairs. We stayed at mine cause we chillin', we bun there. You bring warmth to my life like sunshine, warmth to my stride like tracksuit. Awkward but nice, I'm that you. Take me on trips on the back route, hop off the whip, run the pack tunes. You hold me tight and I exhale slowly. You're my striker, you're my goalie, you're my lover.
So now we move on to this kind of outro chorus kind of part of the song, and a really cool part of the song as well that I've been looking forward to getting to. I'll just play you quickly how this is sounding and then we'll dive into what we did.
Love, show me
We
fire.
fall in love and we drink too much. We do some dumb things when we were young. The only thing we cared about was having fun. Wish we could go back to when we were young. We'd fall in love and
Yeah, so this consists of basically one main layer here where she's singing the whole thing. And we've got two kind of unison BVs here. And then we've got all these kind of harmonies and BVs. So different things here. We've got a tenor, we've got a high version, we've got a soprano. So we'll start with what we did with the actual main vocal. As you can see, in terms of editing for this, not too much. I reduced some of the S's, some of the breaths. I did some fade-ins here as well on some of these harsher kind of transient sounds throughout, but nothing too major. Play these raw, and we'll dive into what we did.
we'd fall in love and we drink too much. We'd do some dumb things when we were young.
So we're using the RX mouth D-click thing here. Not many clicks and pops on this vocal, but I put it on there anyway just to clean it up. We're using a little bit of waves tune, and this is an alternative to auto tune. It's on a really slow setting, so it's not making it sound robotic at all, but it's just to kind of clean up any slight pitch issues. And we got a de-esser here, similar to how I showed you on the other vocals.
We'd fall in love and we drink too much. We'd do some dumb things when we were young. The only thing we cared about was having fun. Wish we could go back to.
Very slight EQ thing here, just a little bit of a boost actually here in the low mids. I wanted to give it a little bit more body, and doing a high pass as usual just to remove any rumble. And then I'm using the Shep's Omni channel as opposed to the SSL channel that I was using on the other vocals. For some reason I decided to use this for this vocal. And as you can see, we're doing a little bit of EQ, a little bit of saturation, and we're compressing as well with this channel strip here.
We'd fall in love and we'd drink too much. We'd do some dumb things when we were young. The only thing we cared about was having fun. Wish we could go back to when we were young.
So you'll see here this compression. If you look at this gain reduction kind of dial here, you'll see that it's only really compressing on the higher parts, like these bigger parts. It's a very dynamic vocal, and I didn't want to remove all of that dynamics, but I wanted to just obviously tame it when it gets big and keep the low parts uncompressed. So you'll see it's only really pushing down on these bigger parts throughout this.
The only thing we cared about was having fun. Wish we could go back to when we were young.
So that's kind of just taming the dynamics and also obviously adding level with the makeup gain. Then we move over to what we did on the channel. And again, it's very similar to the other vocals, just adding some brightness and some more compression.
We'd fall in love and we'd drink too much. We'd do some dumb things when we were young. The only thing we cared about was having fun. Wish we could go back to when we were young.
Just a nice bit of air being added with that. And again, just bringing it more up front with that compression. Obviously, we're using the same de-esser again.
We'd fall in love and we'd drink too much. We'd do some dumb things when we were young. The only thing we cared about was having fun. Wish we could go back to when we were young. We'd fall in love and we'd drink too much.
With the Pro MB, I'm adding a little bit of low end down here. And then I'm compressing some of the mid-range here just to keep it from getting too harsh.
We'd fall in love and we'd drink too much. We'd do some dumb things when we were young.
I'm going to bring in the two doubles here when we move on to this next piece.
We'd fall in love and we'd drink too much. We'd do some dumb things when we were young. The only thing we cared about.
So these are just unison, so they're basically just doubles singing the same thing as the main layer, and I've just panned them left and right. So on the end of the track stack here for Morgan's main vocals here, I've added this MoTT plugin again with this vocal clarity preset, just at 16%.
We'd fall in love and we'd drink too much. We'd do some dumb things when we were young. The only thing we cared about was having fun. Wish we could go back.
It's not doing a whole lot, it's just bringing it up a little bit, bringing the dynamics more in line. Now in terms of reverbs and delays on these singing vocals here, I haven't actually added any delay on the sends like I did on the other vocals in the song, because I've used this delay thrower here throughout, so I've selected the parts that I wanted to put delay on rather than over the whole vocals. But what I have done is added some reverbs. So first reverb is the same reverb on the rap vocals, but just probably sent a little bit more of this to that.
We'd fall in love and we'd drink too much. We'd do some dumb things when we were young. The only thing we cared about was...
So that's the really small kind of reverb. And then I've added this bigger reverb, which is down here on bus 26. For that, I'm using the Valhalla Vintage Verb with these settings.
We'd fall in love and we'd drink too much. We'd do some dumb things when we were young. The only thing we cared about was having fun. Wish we could go back to when we were young. We'd fall...
So quite a big reverb on there. Wanted this to feel kind of luscious and, you know, things kind of swelling out of it. So we went for quite a big reverb on there. And then we've used that airbus again. But we've sent quite a lot of this to that airbus.
We'd fall in love and we'd drink too much. We'd do some dumb things when we were young. The only thing we cared about was having fun. Wish we could go back to when we were young.
So the other kind of integral part of this section of the song is these delays here.
We'd fall in love and we'd drink too much. We'd do some dumb things when we were young. The only thing we cared about was having fun. When we were young.
So quite a cool sound on these, and for that, again, I copied the settings from the main channel up to this channel, but then on the end of it, well, first of all, we EQ'd out all the lows and a lot of the highs. So it's very mid-rangey, what's being sent to this delay here. And then I'm using this Stellar Echo. And this is quite new to the Slate bundle. And I really like this when I'm trying to get a kind of cool, kind of vintagey sounding delay from something. And I'll show you what I'm doing here. So you'll see the settings here. It's on an 8th note. I've got a plate reverb on the delay return. So on the actual delay, the decay of the delay, we've got a reverb on that. A little bit of widening here and a high pass and a low pass. And I just like the way this sounds, you know. I'll try and play this without the reverbs and without the width, and then with.
When we were young, was having fun. When we were young.
So yeah, I just like this kind of analog vintage kind of sound that I get from this delay, and I just thought it really worked to kind of fill these gaps. Let me play you this with the song. I'll mute these harmonies and BVs because we'll get to them in a minute. I'll play you this now with everything done.
Show me
We
five.
fall in love and we drink too much. We do some dumb things when we were young. The only thing we cared about was having fun. Wish we could go back to when we were young. We fall in love and we drink too much. We do some dumb things when we were young. The only thing we cared about was having fun. Wish we could go back to when we were young.
So really nice, but then these harmonies and BVs really bring this out. Let me play you these fully processed.
We fall in love and we drink too much. We do some dumb things when we were young. The only thing we cared about was having fun. Wish we could go back to when we were young.
So really nice. As you see, I've not done any editing at all on these. I left these completely as they were because I felt like it just added more life. Sometimes it's not good to do editing on nice background vocals like this and just leave them very raw, very natural. And if there's timing issues and things like that, it can just add to the feel. I don't want to remove that, so I haven't even took away the breaths or anything on these. They sit quite low in the mix, so those things are generally not really heard in this instance, so I didn't feel the need to do any editing. And all I've done on these individual channels is that little bit of auto-tune with the Waves Tune real time, a little bit of compression with the Sheps Omni channel, and then I've just done this slight bit of EQ, and that will be the same on all of these pretty much. So all of these channels will be treated the same, but then as you'll see, as we go through, I've panned left and right. So the ones that match each other, like this BV.
We fall in love and we drink too much. We do some dumb things when we were young. The only thing we cared about was having fun. Wish we could go back to when.
So thankfully we've got pairs of these, so it allows me to add that width with these stems. You know, I can add one left and one right, and it just helps to bring some bigness to this section of the song. And then over here, it will be pretty much the same processing in terms of compression and everything.
We fall in love and we drink too much. We do some dumb things when we were young. The only thing we cared about.
I'm removing some of the presence here, as you see with this EQ. I'm dipping out some of the highs and the high mids, probably just so that it doesn't compete with the main. I wanted this to play like a background role, obviously being background vocals. Only a slight bit of compression as well. A little bit of de-essing, similar to what we've already showed you.
Was having fun. Wish we could go back to when we were young.
A little bit of compression there in the low mids, just to clean it up a little bit. Then I'm using this Vocal Airy preset on the MoTT. I'm layering up plugins here, but it all sounded good to me, so we don't care.
We fall in love and we drink too much. We do some dumb things when we were young. The only thing we cared about was having fun.
And I put Valhalla plate actually on this track stack itself, rather than using it as a send. I've actually put it on the thing here. Doesn't matter, you know, we can work this way, it's fine.
We fall in love and we drink too much. We do some dumb things when we were young. The only thing we cared about was having fun. Wish we could go back to when we were young.
Really nice. I really like how that reverb sounds on there. And I've used this SSL Fusion stereo image plugin. I'm just adding some width and some space with this.
We fall in love and we drink too much. We do some dumb things when we were young. The only thing we cared about was having fun.
That's just subtly spreading it out a little bit more, adding even more width and space to these vocals.
We do some dumb things when we were young. The only thing we cared about was having fun. Wish we could go back.
Yeah, then I'm using this EQ again just to remove some of the mud that I felt was still in there. So I'll play this now in the song so you can get a feel for the context. And I think it sounds nice when it all comes together.
So let's go, show me love, show me love, show me
We
fire.
fall in love and we drink too much. We do some dumb things when we were young. The only thing we cared about was having fun. Wish we could go back to when we were young. We fall in love and we drink too much. We do some dumb things when we were young. The only thing we cared about was having fun. Wish we could go back to when we were young.
And it just adds sort of the crescendo of the song. And I know the artist had the idea of maybe using this as a chorus as well as an outro and kind of putting it in between the verses. And we actually tried that. But in the end, the producer didn't like it. And I understand why he didn't like it, because it's kind of like an old school cypher type song, you know, the two MCs going back to back. But then we've got this crescendo of this chorus outro part at the end that just ends the song in a really nice way. So with this song fully mixed, the last thing to quickly cover here is the master bus on this song. And there's a few things happening here. Now, when I master songs, I generally work on this master bus as I'm mixing the song, and I'm kind of going back and forth between the mix and the master. I'm not taking an already mixed song and then mastering it. I'm doing it at the same time. And I know that's not the way that some people like to work. It's just the way that I've always worked. I'm kind of mixing into my master bus. So if I'm not happy with something, I'm fixing it more in the mixing stage. So this mastering stuff here is really just slight tweaks, slight touches, and then obviously limiters to bring the overall level of the song up. But we'll go through each thing here and show you what I did. The first thing here is a SSL Fusion high frequency compressor. And I like what this does. It's just kind of compressing the high end, anything above 6K. But then I'm mixing in the results. So you're not hearing the full compression and the full effect of what this plugin is doing. But it's just doing a little touch by the time I've sort of blended it in with this mix knob.
What's your name, girl? Where you from? What you into? What you on? We're going them sides, would you come? You drink vodka, I've got rum. I've got a next cup, do you want some? That's your brethren, yeah, she's bomb. Do I think you're nice? Don't play dumb. Right, we're rolling, vibes can't done.
We used to play knock door run for the jokes. Then it was rollers rats for a toy. It's a shame the way.
Really subtle, as I said. I'm not making big changes with this master bus. It's really simple kind of stuff because I'm mixing the song, so I don't need to fix things in the master stage, you know. I'm using this SSL bus compressor here just to add that little bit of glue, you know, the old trick.
You bring warmth to my life like sunshine, warmth to my stride like tracksuit. Awkward but nice, I'm that you. Take me on trips on the back route, hop off the whip, run the pack tunes. You hold me tight and I exhale slowly. You're my striker, you're my goalie, you're my lover, you're my homie. They're friends but then I still lonely.
Again, really just kissing it, not doing a whole lot. And I've got this SSL Fusion Violet EQ. I'm doing very minor boosts in the low and the high, and I like this EQ. But in this case, you probably won't even hear the difference. This was just things that I'm kind of messing around with this as I'm mixing the song. So I may have tried it with this higher, this lower, and just come to the conclusion that I'm happy with where it is. So I'm only just boosting these slight bits, you know.
But the tides were distant. Fed said we fit the right description. Even then we knew to fight the system. Never learned the lesson. Man act tough when the girls were present. No sweet boy stuff for the first impression. Now gotta think how to word the question. What's your name, girl? Where you from? What you into? What?
Then we've got this Fusion stereo image plugin, and this is just adding a little bit of width and space to the mix. And I'll play this part down here to demonstrate. It's quite subtle, but it adds a nice little touch.
What you on? Don't be long, don't be shy boy, I'm the one. I got vibes, I've seen war, earned my stripes, done my tour. On the high, come inside, by design, I'm your type. So let's go, show me light, show me love, show me fire.
Then we've got this MoTT plugin, and I've used this a few times throughout the song, but this really works nicely on the master bus sometimes. And I'm using this Master Blaster preset, but then down at 10%, so it's not doing too much. And I'll boost this up to show you what it does if you really want to kind of boost your master up, but in this case it's just a little touch.
Fed said we fit the right description. Even then we knew to fight the system. never learned the lesson. Man act tough when the girls were present. No sweet boy stuff for the first impression. Now gotta think how to word the question. What's your name, girl? Where you from? What you into? What you on? We're going them sides, would you come? You drink vodka, I've got rum. I've got a next cup, do you want some? That's your brethren, yeah she's bum. Do I think you're nice? Don't play dumb. Right, we're rolling, vibes can't done.
We used to play knocked or run for the joy.
Then we've got the first limiter in the master chain, and this is adding a lot of level. This is the main limiter that I like to use to add most of the level to my mixes.
Awkward but nice, I'm that you. Take me on trips on the back route. Hot box the whip, run the pack tunes. You hold me tight and I exhale slowly. You're my striker, you're my goalie. You're my lover, you're my homie. They're friends but the night's still lonely. Nostalgia, I bun that slowly. Trying to be proud of me at least mostly. What you on? Don't be long, don't be shy boy, I'm the one. I got vibes, I've seen war. Done my stripes, done my tour.
So you see it's adding a lot of level, but it's only actually compressing at -2, -2.2. It's only actually doing that much gain reduction. You know, it's not doing a whole lot, but it's bringing a lot of level up because of the way that the gain structure has happened throughout the mix. I've kept everything reasonably low, gain staging wise, and the structure of the mix. And then this is just helping to just pull everything up. You'll see here the threshold's at -6.5, but I'm only actually doing sort of a maximum of 3 dB of gain reduction. So half of this is just pulling up the level to 0 first, if you follow what I'm saying. And then after that, we've got the last limiter in the chain, and this is the ozone maximizer. And this is just adding a little touch, 1.5 dB. And then we've got the output level set to -0.5 with the true peak on. And that's just to protect from any overs, you know, we don't want to be in the red.
You bring warmth to my life like sunshine, warmth to my stride like tracksuit. Awkward but nice, I'm that you. Take me on trips on the back route. Hot box the whip, run the pack tunes. You hold me tight and I exhale slowly. You're my striker, you're my goalie. You're my lover, you're my homie. They're friends but the night's still lonely. Nostalgia, I bun that slowly. Trying to be proud of me at least mostly. What you on? Don't be long, don't be shy boy, I'm the one. I got
just adding a little bit of level there, nothing major. And then I'm using this WLM meter by waves to monitor the LUFS, like the loudness of the mix. Using my ears as well, of course, but using this as a little kind of guide to where I'm at.
For the first impression, now gotta think how to word the question. What's your name, girl? Where you from? What you into? What you on? We're going them sides, would you?
The only thing we cared about was having fun. Wish we could go back to when we were young.
Yeah, so the louder parts of the song are kind of at between -10 and -9, but mostly around -10. And the quieter parts at sort of -13 or 14. And that's generally how I like it. I don't like to go too far above that and start killing off my dynamics. But yeah, that's the master bus. And I think that brings us to the end of the video. So guys, thanks for sticking around and getting all the way to the end of the video. If you like what you saw, please click the like button. And if you're new around here, please click the subscribe button and check back for more. Take a look at my channel if you're interested in more videos like this. I've got at least 6 or 7 other mix walkthroughs sitting there, and I'm planning to do 1 a month for the whole of this year. So check back for more, and hopefully I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.